Let's get something out of the way real quick. Valentine's Day is great. It's fine, cute even. But it's also kind of a glitter covered pressure cooker we're all supposed to pretend we love. I mean, if you look at it according to the movies and commercials, love is all about roses and candlelight, surprise getaways, and that perfectly timed passion. Yeah, I don't know about that. Because if you're married after 40, love usually looks a little different. Love usually looks more like, did you let the dog out? Where's my charger? And please don't talk to me until I've had coffee. And honestly, that doesn't mean the love is gone. It just means it's real. Midlife love isn't loud. It's deep. It's lived in. And it's doing the work when nobody else is watching. So today we're going to dig in. We're talking about marriage after 40, the version nobody puts on a greeting card. How love changes, how it deepens, and how connection survives real life, real stress, and real exhaustion. So whether you're listening with coffee in your hand or a wine in your glass, pull up a seat. Because in just a few minutes, we're going to talk about the real love story. Welcome to the Love Your Naked Ass podcast, the Midlife Rebellion edition. I'm your host, Kimberly Riggins, health and life coach, holistic nutritionist, and your go-to bullshit detector for all things midlife. If you've ever rolled your eyes at the phrase aging gracefully, you're my kind of rebel. Because midlife isn't about slowing down. It's about showing up, speaking up, and maybe flipping a few tables along the way. So grab your coffee or your cocktail. I'm not here to judge. It's time we raise some hell, laugh a little, and love our naked asses again. Let's do this. All right, before we dig in, I want to share a little context here because love after 40 doesn't make sense without it. My husband and I, when we first met, had the most incredible chemistry in the beginning. The kind that felt effortless, the kind that people noticed, and the kind that people wanted to emulate. We were together for over 11 years before we had our son. And when we became parents, everything shifted. Suddenly, we weren't just partners. We were these exhausted, overwhelmed people who were just trying to figure out who we were in this new season. There were a lot of unspoken expectations, hurtful feelings, and if I'm being really truthful, some immaturity on both sides. And eventually, without getting into too much detail, we reached a point where we couldn't keep going the way we were. And when our son was about 1, we separated. That season was really painful. It was confusing and it was deeply humbling. There was so much anger, especially from me. There was also a lot of grief. And there was a version of me that didn't know if forgiveness or even friendship at that time was even possible. We didn't rush our way back to each other, that's for sure. We lived apart, we learned to co-parent, and we grew up individually. Years later, when our son was about 5 or 6, we started dating again. We didn't try to fix things, we weren't pretending, we just started to date. We started out slowly, definitely with boundaries. We had a lot of honest conversations and a lot of hard conversations. And what we now have exists because we both took responsibility for who we were back then and who we needed to become. This marriage is not the same one we started with. It's a rebuilt one. And this is why I say love after 40 is different. It's not about pretending nothing ever broke. It's about deciding what's worth rebuilding and what kind of people you want to be if you do. Midlife love is less about chemistry and more about character. Less about intensity and more about intention. The connection we now have is so much quieter, but it's stronger and it's far more honest than anything we had in our 20s. So let's talk about the Hallmark myth for a second. You know, that perfectly lit, perfectly scripted 2-hour love story. Listen, I'm the first to admit I love a good Hallmark movie. It totally takes me out of my head. I laugh, but I know it's fake. That's not marriage. That's marketing. Real marriage, especially in midlife, is knowing exactly who your partner is and who they aren't and who you are, and deciding, yep, I still want to be here. It's about navigating stress, hormones, aging, and all the chaos around us while we're still trying to find those moments to laugh. You don't need constant passion to have a great marriage. You need respect and humor and the ability to say, I love you, but please stop chewing like that. That, to me, is intimacy. Here's what no one talks about enough. People in relationships change. You're both changing, usually at the same time, but often in very different ways. Physically, emotionally, mentally. And if you don't talk about it, resentment fills the silence. So no, it's not always sexy, but it is so necessary to have these types of conversations. We need to ask our partners these questions. How are you really doing? What do you need from me right now? How can we feel more connected? Sometimes that's a deep conversation. Sometimes it's laughing over something ridiculous, and sometimes it's just sitting together in silence. But that's partnership after 40. That's how you keep communication alive, because communication, I believe, really is the true connection. So, how do you keep the spark alive in real life? Because let's be honest, we know we can't uphold the version in the movies. So, what do? How do you stay connected when life feels like one long, tiring ass to-do list? What worked for us is we stopped waiting for big gestures and we started choosing small ones. Now, we flirt a little. We send text messages to each other during the daytime. Sometimes we just sit together without our phones and not even talking because we're so tired from our day, but at least we're together. We kiss longer than 2 seconds, and we remember something ridiculous we did when we were younger and we laugh about it. The spark isn't gone, it's just changed. It just needs oxygen to stay alive. And sometimes connection is just choosing kindness over being right. That shift alone can change everything. So let's take a look at what we can do, especially as we move into Valentine's Day week. The first action step I'd love to offer is let's drop the pressure. Just ditch it. Skip the comparison, skip the performance, and choose connection instead. Instead of making this big hoopla over Valentine's Day, why don't you cook together or talk about something real or laugh about old memories? The strongest love stories aren't built on grand gestures. They're built in everyday moments. And I've seen both sides. I truly believe this. Action step number 2. Recommit to the season. Literally, recommit. Not to who you were at 25, but to who you are right now. Ask yourself, what do I want our love to look like in this season? And then say it out loud. Talk about what's changed, what you miss, what you need, and what you're grateful for. Marriage isn't static, it evolves. And the couples who thrive are the ones willing to evolve with it. Here's what I want you to remember. Love after 40 isn't about chasing butterflies. It's about building something steady, honest, and real. It's laughter, yes. It's also forgiveness, shared history, inside jokes, and deep comfort. It's loving your partner now, as they are today, and letting yourself be loved as you are now, too. So no, this isn't a Hallmark movie. I think it's actually better because it's real. Next week, we're going to shift the conversation from relationships to your body. Because if midlife has taught us anything, it's that what worked in our 20s doesn't always work anymore, and that includes how we eat. So in next week's episode, Fueling Your Body, the truth about nutrition in midlife, we're cutting through the noise. No food fear, No wellness culture guilt, no extreme rules. We're just going to talk about your midlife body and what it actually needs: protein, fiber, blood sugar balance, hormones, and how to nourish yourself in a way that feels supportive, sustainable, and sane. So if you're tired of conflicting advice and are ready to feel strong, energized, and at peace with food again, you won't want to miss it. I'll see you next time. And that's a wrap for this week's episode of the Love Your Naked Ass podcast, the Midlife Rebellion edition. If you're loving the show, be sure to smash that subscribe button, drop a rating, or leave a review. Because we're not here to tweak the old narrative. We're here to torch it, rewrite it, and make damn sure every woman knows midlife is her prime. Don't forget to join me on Substack at Rebel Midlife, where we get raw, real, and a little rebellious about what it means to thrive in this chapter. I'm Kimberly Riggins, signing off with this reminder: midlife isn't a crisis, it's your comeback story. Catch you next time, Rebel.